What's going on, ladies and gents? I'm Victor Ortiz, the WBC welterweight champion of the world. I'm gonna do it again. Don't forget that. But man, I'm just trying to give a shout out to all the podcast listeners by Flipside Sports podcast. So man, just a big hug, and I hope you guys are awesome. God bless you.
We talking about practice, not a game. We talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Just a bit outside.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flipside Podcast. We are back with an off-the-cuff edition. A couple things on my mind that I felt the need to get off. Both of the main topics I'm going to cover are from the National Football League. I know that it's coming down to it. Week 17 is about to get underway. First of all, let me just say that I don't remember a Week 17 where there's this much to play for. I mean, other than the Kansas City Chiefs, who have locked in their number one seed, everybody's still kind of playing for something unless they're out. I mean, Jacksonville's already clinched the first pick. The Jets pissed it away in Jets fashion. But, I mean, even the Packers, with some help, can drop from the 1 seed to the 3 seed. So you've got the Saints, the Seahawks, the Packers all playing for something there. You've got the added playoff position that allows for one more team to get in on each side, and that's really made things interesting. I mean, obviously it eliminates one of the bye week games, so you really don't get rewarded for being the second best team in your conference, which I think is good. I mean, I'm a fan of on weekends where there's football, I'm a fan of watching the best teams play, and if we can get one more of the heavy hitters, whether it be the Saints or the Packers or the Seahawks, or Pittsburgh or Buffalo or any of those teams, it's good for everybody, not having to wait another week, allows for more parity, yada, yada, yada. Sticking with that, my first topic is one that is a dead horse that was beaten last night, watching the Patriots lose in magnificent fashion, and it's only fitting that come playoff time, we talk about the New England Patriots, who have had a winning season since 2000. They have not had a losing season since 2000. Now, somebody like me as a Detroit fan, I would kill for that. And, you know, people are giving the Patriots all sorts of grief, but, I mean, a run like that is special. And if you're a Patriots fan, I'm not going to call you spoiled, but it's not always this easy, especially for younger Patriots fans, that this is really all they know is Tom Brady. So, that being said, we're going to talk about the Patriots. They're saying last night on Monday Night Football, if you watch the broadcast, do they full rebuild? Do they do this? Do they try Stidham? Do they draft a quarterback? Blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know why we're ignoring the outside factors of the New England Patriots. I mean, you've got Cam Newton, who's uber talented quarterback in his prime, and I don't think he's done. Has 12 rushing touchdowns on the season, which is nothing to sneeze at. But you've got to remember, they signed him late, got him on a minimum deal, didn't have any time to work with his team. There's no run-throughs. There's no learning the playbook. It's, hey, it's your team, go get it. All the while having injuries in the backfield, opt-outs on the offensive line, Julian Edelman out basically for the year. Gronk now gone. He's been gone a year and a half now, but still, I mean, a big weapon that the Patriots have relied on. Two of them, in Edelman and Gronk, are no longer there. But to add to that, you've lost a load to opt-outs, whether it's a couple of key offensive linemen or Dante Hightower. You lost Jamie Collins in the offseason. There's a lot missing from this Patriots team that given good health and assuming good health, will be back next year, and they don't feel that far away. I think the Bills are the class of the division. I think anybody as soon as Brady looked like he was headed elsewhere and players started to opt out, after what we've seen out of Buffalo the last couple of years, I think anybody could see this coming. Sean McDermott's a hell of a coach. They're well built. Josh Allen can play. I tell you what, Josh Allen might be the most exciting quarterback in the league to watch. That guy is huge. He runs. He talks. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's not intimidated by any throw. He's not hesitant. It bit him a little bit in the playoffs last year. He made some bad decisions, but that guy, I haven't seen somebody sling it with just a wrist flip with a dirty pocket the way that guy does, and just fearless. And he reminds me of a lot of the gunslingers that we've seen. I mean, Flacco did it when he was younger. He could fit the ball in anywhere, and he knew he could. Stafford does it. Mahomes does it. Rodgers does it. They see a window, and they have all the belief that they can get it in there. Russell Wilson does it too. And Josh Allen has that gunslinger mentality, much like Brett Favre did, but he's more mobile, he's bigger, and he has a much bigger arm. And the guy can run. So not to get sidetracked, obviously we're talking about the Patriots, but I mean everyone's talking about, a full rebuild, and do we think that's what's necessary? Because I don't think tearing this Patriots team down is the plan. I don't think it's the right idea, and I don't think it's the plan. I think you've got to look at Bill Belichick's age. He doesn't have a ton of years left coaching. He's not going to sit through a full rebuild. This guy is great at building teams, and he is going to slowly piece it back to at least a wild card team. They're not that far away. They can still run the ball. They had zero threats in the passing game, and that's not a knock on Cam Newton. That's the loss of Julian Edelman, the non-development, I guess, of N'Keal Harry, whether that's all the changing parts or whatever, but they've got to get a couple pieces, and I don't look for the Patriots to make a splash as far as a quarterback or anything huge in the draft, trading up, whatever. I think they're going to get weapons. I think they're going to go get a threat. They're going to go get somebody like one of the Alabama kids, the receivers, or somebody that can stretch the field out. And I really think once Dante Hightower comes back, you still got the McCourties. You've got maybe the two best corners in the league, in Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson. I think there's a lot to build on there. Whether they move off of Gilmore or not, I don't know. But I really just don't see a full rebuild for the Patriots. I think it's going to be a little bit of a process. But I think if you're expecting 4-12, 5-11, 6-10 out of the Patriots for the next couple of years, I think you're going to be sadly mistaken. This team can play. This team's well coached. They're not going anywhere. They may not be the dominant dynasty that they were, but they are not going to be they're not going to be an automatic win circled on your schedule ever. So I just thought it was a little ridiculous that people kind of ignored Belichick's age and what he can do, and the fact that a lot of these players opted out or were injured this year. That attributed to the Patriots' downfall. And, the Patriots in certain weeks have looked really, really good. And, if you can get some weapons for Cam Newton, if they decide to go that route, I don't think Stidham's the answer. But I think if you can get some weapons and he can continue, 12 rushing touchdowns, they can be a threat, and they can be a threat to Buffalo. They can be a threat to anybody with that coaching staff and those kind of pieces. You've got Winovich, you've got like I said, Gilmore and Jackson, and they got players. They still got them. A lot of them opted out, but they're still hanging around. They're still under contract. So I don't think we see the Patriots going anywhere for a while. Second thing, really, there's a lot of moving parts to this, but a lot of things to take into consideration. DWAYNE Haskins was released by the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, yesterday. DWAYNE Haskins was the 13th overall pick, I believe, in last year's draft. Not this past one, but the one before that, 2019. They picked a quarterback in the top 15 and already gave up on him. What does that tell you? That tells you that all the rumors of the discord and the dysfunction and the coaching staff wants this, the ownership wants this, yada, 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 is very real. And Ron Rivera came in, a respected coach, someone who's played with or who's coached with some big personalities and some quote-unquote divas, came in and cut DWAYNE Haskins in Week 16 when they are making a playoff push. You've got Alex Smith, who is not the healthiest by any means. You got Kyle Allen, who's not a serviceable player. And then you've got DWAYNE Haskins, who's been absolutely terrible. But for them to give up on their 2019 top 15 pick at quarterback this quick tells you everything that you need to know about a lot of different entities in this whole process. First of all, a shout out to Urban Meyer for making this guy an absolute stud in college. It just goes to show you that if you have the best players on your team, like Ohio State did in the Big Ten, and a coach that can dumb down the offense to somebody that doesn't really give a shit to learn it, you can be successful. And kudos to Urban Meyer for making the whatever offense he was running at Ohio State digestible enough for somebody that cares as little as DWAYNE Haskins. That's not a knock on Urban Meyer. I think we'll get to that. But that's impressive because this guy has had NFL coaches, NFL everything. And I don't know if it's the fact that he got some money. I mean, he probably got money at Ohio State too, if we're being honest. But I don't know if it's the fact that he got money and lost motivation or whatever. But the rumors were swirling at Ohio State that this kid didn't want to be there. He didn't love the game. He didn't want to study. He didn't this. He didn't that. He showed up to training camp overweight. There was all the red flags, and they took him 13th overall. Now, it seems like for people that get paid a lot of money, personnel people in the NFL, it seems like learning from mistakes of your peers would be pretty high on your priorities. But we've seen this before. And credit to the Washington football team, Redskins at the time. At least they didn't blow a number 1 or number 2 on this quarterback. But we saw this with Jamarcus Russell. We saw this with Vince Young, Ryan Leaf. We saw these guys that came in with physical ability and gaudy numbers, but there were questions about what was between their ears, if they cared, and all of that. But it just seems like in such a high-stakes game like the NFL, and especially such a high-stakes position like the quarterback position, which many believe is the most important position on your team, it seems like you would learn from the mistakes people made beforehand. Like the Titans took Vince Young 2nd overall. He was horrible on his Wonderlic. His workouts were terrible. He showed up way overweight. Sound familiar? It's DWAYNE Haskins. Jamarcus Russell, overweight, didn't want to learn the playbook. Famously, they had they took game film and they put it in cassette tapes and tell Jamarcus Russell to go home and study tape, come back and let them know what he saw. And he would come back with a report, and little did he know that the tapes were blank. They just knew that he wasn't studying and they wanted to test him. So that feels like exactly what's happening here. But the issue I have is obviously there's character issues going on at the prestigious Ohio State University. This guy was the face of your program for a long time, and he was adored on campus. And they've had their sketchy individuals, whether it was Troy Smith, Maurice Claret, Terrell Pryor, now Haskins. They've had their guys, especially the quarterback position, that have not been the most upstanding individuals. And I'm not gonna blanket statement the whole university, because to be competitive, you have to get players that can absolutely play. It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat like the NFL is. If you're not getting a Haskins, somebody else is going to get a Haskins, and they're going to know how to use them at that level, and they're going to beat you with them. I get it. But the problem I have is with DWAYNE Haskins himself. Now, I always root for a comeback story. I always root for second chances. I've had second chances. A lot of people have had second chances. And I always feel for the quarterbacks that something happens to them, or their situation causes them to have setbacks, whether it's you go to a team that's not set up for success or that's not trying to win. Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, all of the Browns, whatevers over the past. And then you look at players like RG3 and Andrew Luck and just the guys that got injured or had setbacks. They went and they were supposed to be saviors to a team. They were supposed to be the answer, but the team wasn't ready for them. I root for that. What I don't root for is when a player is entitled from day one. Like this kid got drafted. There's all these rumors about his character. He gets drafted and then says that everybody else is messed up for not picking him. Well, it's a job interview, bro. Like come to work with it. And you didn't get drafted by the Jets. You didn't get drafted by the Lions. You didn't get drafted by Cleveland. You went to Washington. I know they're not the most prestigious. They've had their dysfunction, but they're functioning. And they have a defense. Those other teams don't have a defense. Well, Cleveland does now, but that took a lot of draft picks. But and now you've got Ron Rivera. And the problem I have is not that Dwayne Haskins, I mean, rumors are rumors. Usually when there's smoke, there's fire. You know, he said, she said, somebody has a vendetta, especially when it's a front office and a coaching staff disagreeing. There could be someone putting it out that he's not studying, he's not doing this, that, trying to get under the other side's skin. But when you hear it time and time again, if it looks like a rat and smells like a rat, it's probably a rat. So my problem is the fact that this is the second time that he's been, first of all, he got benched, threw a fit, unfollowed, did the petty middle school stuff where you unfollow the Washington football team on social media and blah, blah. Like, look at your numbers, man. Like, what do you want him to do? Tua's been benched twice this year and hasn't done anything like this. So if you're telling me that Haskins is a better option than Tua between the ears mentally, I can already tell you that's not the case. But that's not it. They brought in Thomas Davis, linebacker, to kind of coach him, to say, hey, your body language, your eyes, I can read your eyes, you're doing this. And I mean, Thomas Davis went to a Super Bowl. He's a multiple-time Pro Bowler, a borderline Hall of Famer who's lived it, seen it, read every quarterback from Rodgers to Jamarcus Russell. And he's telling Haskins, you know, hey, I can read your eyes, I can see your body language, I can tell that you're doing this by this. And Haskins told him, you don't know what you're talking about, right? So, entitled. But again, not my biggest issue. The game against, I think it was Detroit, where he won the game, and then they had to bring in the backup. I forget who it was. It might have been Keenum. I don't remember who it was, but the backup had to come in and kneel on the ball because he was taking pictures with fans and didn't realize that the game was over. Not a huge deal. I mean, it got a little blown out of proportion, but it's a red flag. It's definitely a red flag. Like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Drew Brees and all these guys have won a whole lot of games. You've never seen that happen. That has never happened. But the problem I have is this guy went to a strip club, broke the COVID protocols, you know, social distancing, kind of keep to yourself. You know, we got a big boy job with big boy money on the line. And try and keep everybody safe so you're healthy going into these games where your team that doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs is going to somehow get in the playoffs, and your lazy ass could somehow wind up with a ring. Not likely, but that's what the playoffs are for. That's what he's playing for. He went to a strip club, took pictures with a bunch of strippers, no masks. I mean, honestly, COVID's probably the best thing you can catch that close to strippers, but he's had hotel parties. He's reserved suites for family and friends in hotels when they're supposed to be social distancing. And the bitch of it all is that this kid doesn't realize how bad it looks, because he just had the best story of the NFL offseason. The whole offseason was that his head coach, Ron Rivera, beat cancer and finished his chemo. And this guy, you talk about immunocompromised, he just finished cancer. Life-threatening. And your quarterback that you're supposed to coach and you have to direct every single day is putting your health, your life, your family in jeopardy. Cut him. He's got to go. I don't think he gets another chance. I don't think he gets another decent chance. He might get picked up somewhere. He's not going to work. We've seen it. Alex Smith almost lost his leg. Alex Smith can run that offense better in his sleep than DWAYNE Haskins can. The kid cannot play. And it's not for physical ability. I saw him at Ohio State. I'm a Michigan fan. We saw him. He killed us. He can make throws. He can make plays. But he doesn't want to learn. The NFL is so much different, so much more competitive. You don't have the best receivers, the best running backs, the best offensive linemen, the best defensive linemen at every position like you did at Ohio State going against the Michigans, Michigan States, Wisconsins. Those are respectable programs. But you're getting players that are going to play on Sunday against college football players. Now you get to that level, and you don't have the mental capacity. And the crazy thing is that nobody learns from it. Nobody learned from Vince Young. Nobody learned from Jamarcus Russell. If you don't think they have it between their ears, they're not going to work. And going back to Rivera, good for him for sticking by this guy, for giving him a chance. Because Rivera just got there this year. And after benching him, he said, nope, he's our quarterback. We're not giving up on the kid. We're not giving up on the kid, blah, blah, blah. Ron Rivera had just finished cancer treatment and wasn't willing to give up on this kid. When this kid gave up on this team from day one, Ron Rivera has dealt with divas. He's dealt with Steve Smiths, Josh Normans, Cam Newton at quarterback, and stuck it out with him for years. And people call Cam Newton a problem. That tells you everything that you need to know about what DWAYNE Haskins is. And I don't think he's going to learn. I don't. He reminds me of Jameis Winston, but not as good at football. Jameis Winston was the same way. He went first overall. The kid, but he could play. He could absolutely play. He performed at workouts. He did well in his interviews. He's a smart guy. He made bad decisions. DWAYNE Haskins didn't show you that. Jameis Winston, you can ask any of his teammates at Florida State. The kid's a leader. DWAYNE Haskins wasn't a leader. Those guys are different. And you can see what happens to Jameis Winston. All the talent in the world, you throw for 5,000 yards. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to make it. And usually I feel bad for him, and I don't not feel bad for him because he went to Ohio State. I don't feel bad for him because he's entitled. He has a job that so many people would kill for. So many people wanted that shot. Look at the kid from UCF, Mackenzie Milton. He was well on his way to going to the NFL. Now we don't know if he can ever play pro football because of his injury. Alex Smith almost lost his career. There's guys that would kill to be in this position, that would kill to have a job that pays that kind of money to play a game. And I mean, on the heels of J.J. Watt's speech about fans caring and you got to give a shit, you got to put in the work, DWAYNE Haskins gets cut. J.J. Watt and DWAYNE Haskins are two very, 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 very different people. Very different football players, not just in position, between their ears. Some people want it. Some people want to chase it. Some people want it handed to them. DWAYNE Haskins wanted it handed to him, and they handed him a pink slip because he was entitled. You're not the man anymore. And the whole breaking protocols with Rivera, that's just selfish. That's grossly selfish. Like, it's one thing to be lazy and not watch film and not do this and do things that hurt the team, like on the field. But for you to not realize that you are putting your own coach's life in jeopardy after the fight of his life is the most selfish shit I've ever seen. And honestly, I love what Ron Rivera is doing. Darius Geis, gone. DWAYNE Haskins, gone. Washington is better for it. Alex Smith's the guy anyway, until otherwise noted. But going forward, when they go to draft, let Rivera draft. Don't let Snyder do it, because it hasn't worked. RG3 didn't work for different reasons, but they need to back up on the reaching for quarterbacks, because they're not assessing people for the character that they are, their work ethic. They just see, oh, he threw 55 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Yeah, against Illinois. Not the Eagles, not the Packers, not the Saints. You've got to want it. These kids come in with a chip on their shoulder. He wants to be the chip on the shoulder guy like Brady, like Rodgers, like this. No, those guys came in with a chip on their shoulder and were going to prove it by working. Haskins was just a petulant child about it. And, you know, I may be wrong, but what I see is what I see. You get cut before week 17, and your team's making a playoff run. You were the first-round quarterback pick last year by that team. It's in the cards. It's written on the walls. I don't see a lot of people defending DWAYNE Haskins, and from the sounds of it, I don't think a lot of people are really wanting to defend DWAYNE Haskins. So that's my take. Sorry for my grumpy-ass rant. I hope you guys all had a great Christmas. I hope you all have a great New Year. Stay tuned. Cover 3 is coming at you tomorrow, Week 17. And then we're going to kick it into a lower gear, as I'm not going to ask Tyler to pick 3 games every week and me pick 3 games when it comes down to the playoffs and half the teams are eliminated. So we'll probably do a cover 2 for the playoffs. Maybe he'll take AFC. I'll take NFC, one or the other. We'll figure that out. But we're 58-38 on the season. That's 60%. That's good for a lot of money. So I appreciate it. Happy holidays. Hope you guys all have a much better 2021. I hope to, although it has been good to us from a podcast standpoint. I appreciate everything that you guys have done. I know this year's been super shitty for a lot of people, but for us, this year's been fantastic on the podcast front, and I cannot thank you enough. Keep listening, keep subscribing, keep supporting, and sorry for my rant. I'll probably do another one on basketball here very, very soon. Have a nice one.